When you have too much inventory, it's like you've taken a bag of cash and you've put it on a shelf and you can't do anything with it. You can't use it to grow. You can't use it to hire somebody, a supplier. This bag of cash is just sitting on a shelf.
Welcome to the Mastering E-commerce Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Eitan Koter, co-CEO of Vimy. In an era of rising acquisition costs and increased competition, this podcast is dedicated to helping you drive sales, engage customers, and build meaningful communities so you can turn passive visitors into active buyers. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on future content. Now let's get started with the episode. Today's guest is Matt Putra, Fractional CFO and the founder of Eightx. Matt specializes in helping e-commerce and CPG companies between 5 to 100 million scale profitability and sustainability. His superpower, turning financial complexity into clarity. From cash flow forecasting to strategic planning, Matt helps brands align their teams, optimize their finances, and grow with confidence. If you're a founder or navigating scales, crises, or just looking to sleep better at night, this episode is for you. Hey, Matt, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Eitan. It's so great to be here.
Matt, love the topics of the day, right? I mean, cash flow is everything. By the way, I searched for some quotes around financial terms and cash flow, and you showed up many times. So, well, success side. Yeah. And by the way, not only in Google, but also in ChatGPT. So well done. And
Maybe. I've been working on that really hard. Yeah.
I guess your organic effort is paying off quite this. I mean, you out there with like Mark Cuban and Michael Dell and all the big guys. So
You're kidding. And thanks.
yeah. That's a great place to be. But Matt, before we dive in, if you can share like 3 words that are most important to you and why.
Got it. My first word is kindness. The second word is hyphenated, but self-belief. And then the third is expansive. And why those to me are so important is because, kindness, I mean, it's huge. It's everything. I think I believe in doing a lot of good in the world and just being kind to everybody. And so we try to teach our kids, like, if you go to the drive-through, be kind. If you go to the restaurant, everyone be kind. And so I just think it makes the world a better place, that one. Self-belief and expansive go together a little bit. I think I come from not a privileged background. And one of the things I got from my mom was just a belief in myself. And then I learned to just work at the edges of my competency and try to find where I would fail. And, I'm the first person in my family to get a university degree, first person to have an executive level job. And just a lot of good things have happened when I just believe in myself and try to find edges of where I'm competent and that. So that's why those are words for me.
Wow. Really, really nice. I mean, kindness for others probably starts with the kindness for yourself, right? So just you're right to understand compassion and kindness first for yourself, and not only just live yourself be in a better place, which obviously opens up opportunity to be kind for others. I think it's fundamental. So
I agree. And it's, I think for me, it's probably harder to be kind to myself, I think. And I bet it's the same way for others. I find it easier to be kind to other people sometimes.
Yeah. I think good job for your parents. I think they did very good jobs. That's nice. So here are a few quotes for you. So cash flow is not just a line in a spreadsheet. It's the story of your business, right? That's you. And you can't pay the bills with profits, only with cash. That's Michael Dell. So let's start by clearing out some confusion out there, right? Because cash flow is one thing, right? Profits is some other things. And let's start with just this basic definition. Please explain our audiences those basic, fundamentals, definitions of those various terms.
So cash flow is you open your bank account and you spent money today and you got money today. And how much do you have left over? That's your cash flow. Very simple, very easy to figure out. You may have 5 bank accounts. You might have 5 bank accounts and 3 credit cards, but the math is the same. How much money came in today? How much money went out today? And the difference is your net cash flow. So very simple. Profit is very different. Profit is a bit abstract, to be honest, because you can't actually use net cash flow to estimate profit reliably. Profit is sort of, what have you done to bring value to your customers? And is that job complete? And how much did you did they agree to pay for that job? And when the job is complete, you have revenue. So for me, I'm a fractional CFO. And every month I agree to do, A to Z for my clients. And at the end of the month, when I've done A to Z, I make, and the revenue looks, call it $5,000. So $5,000 is my revenue. Okay. They may not pay that then. They might have paid it in advance. They could pay it 1 year in advance. Who knows? It doesn't even matter when they pay it. But when I've done the job of giving value to somebody, that's my revenue. If you sell a product, if you, take a fidget spinner, for example, when the minute that you get this fidget spinner into my hands as your customer, you've done the job of giving me value. So then you get to recognize $10 or $5 of revenue. So that's how revenue works. Expenses, so profit is of course revenue minus expenses. So profit is, what did it cost you to bring that value to your customer? So again, if we take this, there's some metal parts, there's some plastic parts, and someone had to put it together. Okay. And so you probably paid for this thing 6 months ago or 3 months ago. You probably paid maybe $2 for this 3 months ago. The expense for this, you don't get to put that as a minus until you put this in my hands, right? And then you have staff that have to ship it and pack it. And then you have to pay Meta, and you have to pay Google for the advertising. So the expenses are, what does it cost you to get this to my hands? Everything in, so advertising and all that. So and then profit, of course, is just revenue minus expenses. And so profit and cash flow sometimes line up, but rarely.
Rarely, yeah. I mean, in this, cash flow is just the most important thing, right? Companies are, going out of business because they run out of cash flow, right? So it's adding the depth that needs to be more long-term planning, right? It is required. What are some of the unique characteristics of, let's say, cash flow behaviors for CPG and for e-commerce brands?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with especially CPG and e-commerce is that, most of us have to purchase inventory between 6 months and 3 months in advance of being able to sell it. So that's one of the call it worst parts of managing an e-commerce company is that cash flow and for inventory, because you may ship it from Thailand or Vietnam or China or India, let's say, and most of the time, vendors in those countries will want very large deposits or full prepayments before they give you the shipment, and the shipment might take a month on the water, and so you end up paying a lot of money long before you get to sell it to your customers. Whereas software, you get a monthly recurring payment and they get a service like right when they pay for it, basically. Or even an agency like myself, they pay on the first of the month and then I do the work the rest of the month. So it's different cash flow planning. So e-commerce CPG is very difficult. And then with e-commerce especially, you have to sort of buy your customers, right? So you have to put money in the Facebook and the Google machine, and you don't always know how much that's going to cost. You have historicals and they should line up, but sometimes something happens with Facebook or your website, and then the cost to acquire a customer goes up. And that's the other hard part about e-commerce is that you pay all this money for inventory and you don't really know how much it's going to cost you to sell it because marketing costs go up and down. So those are probably the hardest things. When you think about CPG, often you think about wholesale. The hard thing about wholesale is you buy your 10,000 fidget spinners and you send them to toy traders or whatever you send them to, and they wait 60 days to pay you. So not only have you bought inventory way far in advance, then you had to pay to list your goods in the grocery store or toy traders or Walmart. And then Walmart takes 60 to 90 days to pay you. So very difficult to manage cash flow.
Yeah. Yes. And obviously there is a seasonality throughout the years, like special events like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all that. And so obviously here comes, the importance of cash flow forecasting, right? And it's a major impact for growth. So what are the best practices, or what's the methodology that you believe in to create, solid and reliable forecasting for businesses?
Yeah. So there's two components of cash flow forecasting that are really, really important. One is your sort of annual financial budget. So it's by month revenue, expenses, and cash flow and everything. And the other is called a 13-week cash flow forecast, so by week. So I'll go into the financial forecast first. So when you start your new year, you should make a financial budget. How much do we think we're going to make each month? How much are we going to spend to acquire the goods? How much for our staff and our agencies and all this? Now, a lot of people have a budget, but the piece that people miss is the drivers of your budget. Meaning, I'm going to spend this much on Facebook. The CPMs are this. I'm going to get this many clicks, this many website sessions, this many conversions, all the way down to sales. Okay. And when you do it that way, you can actually see if your budgeted expectations for revenue make sense, because you can compare against last year's CPMs, conversions, and all this. And you can see based on last year, does this year's assumptions make sense? And if you do that well for revenue, you tend to do the rest of it well also, because revenue, I find, is one of the most volatile things, because again, CPMs go up, revenue goes down, or conversion rate, something breaks their website, people can't order anything. So revenue is very volatile. But if you use a funnel and you measure your funnel and then you arrive at revenue, you can measure it fairly reliably and at least act fast if something's wrong. So that's your long range by month budget. Now, when you do that, you then have to look at, when do I have to buy inventory? How much inventory do I need to have to support my sales? And then you can make your long range sort of 1 year cash flow plan. So that's probably the most important part of cash flow planning. And that will, if someone did that well, you may not even need a 13-week cash flow forecast if you've done that well. So if you'll do that long range forecast, and then mid-year, you'll roll it again for like 6 months past the current year. So let's say we're now in July 2025. Your forecast should now have up to June 2026. You want to extend it every month for every month that goes by. So now you know what your cash flow looks like at least on a monthly basis. The next piece is a 13-week cash flow forecast. This is covering the next 13 weeks, and you should know a lot about your cash in that time frame. What vendors you have to pay, what weeks is payroll in, when does your meta invoice come out, and that helps you manage the intricacies of who do you pay when, and how do you manage every week. If you have a lot of cash, you don't always have to do that one, but most people should.
So that's obviously where you come in, right? So needs your expertise. So obviously, can you share some of the services that you provide as part of your fractional CFO?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I think, in fractional CFOs, there's a number of models, right? So you have some that have a well-defined scope, right? And you have some that sort of come in part-time. And what we do is we have a scope, yes, but we really have an unlimited service model where whatever you need done, we're really going to do. Now, obviously, there's some limits to that, but that's sort of what differentiates us from most others, is that we just do whatever needs to get done to keep you afloat, to help you reach your goals, to help you exit your company. And if you're bigger, or if you have a lot more going on, you can bring somebody on a day a week or 2 days a week. Most people, our standard model will work where it's like half-hour calls each week, a very long call once a month to go through financials and forecasts and issues and opportunities. But really, we're doing the financial forecasting, 13-week cash flow forecast, and those tell us where we want to go. And then we build guardrails around those forecasts. So KPIs, weekly trackers, daily profit tracking, customer funnel conversion mapping, a ton of things. But, again, at the end of the day, our goal is where you want to go and how do we get there and keep you on the path.
Nice. And while you work with the clients and you've been doing this for quite a while, what are some of the common financial mistakes that you say businesses are doing right in the financial side of things?
Mistake number one is, I would say, is really bookkeeping is the one that I see the most, right? Do you have good quality bookkeeping? Are your books getting closed within 5 days of month end? Are your expenses classified into appropriate categories? And the reason that this is important is because you need to be able to open up your QuickBooks or your Xero or even Final Loop file and look at the categories and understand what's going on. Now, I will shout out Final Loop here because they solved this long time to close issue with bookkeeping where you can close your books within about a day of a month end with Final Loop, right? They even reconcile things by the hour or multiple times a day. So great option there. And so bookkeeping is, again, if you don't have good bookkeeping, you actually can't see what's going on. You're blind, right? So from there, what is the other major mistake? The number one thing I see is over inventorying. You have too much inventory, too many SKUs that are slow moving, and you're not doing anything about it. Because if you think about it, when you have too much inventory, it's like you've taken a bag of cash and you've put it on a shelf and you can't do anything with it. You can't use it to grow. You can't use it to hire somebody. You can't pay a supplier. This bag of cash is just sitting on a shelf. And most people, most of the time, have too much inventory. And then the other one, I would say is, well, honestly, it's too much fixed costs, too many staff, too many subscriptions, an office you didn't need. And those are the big three things that get people in trouble.
Why do you think companies are just over forecasting or just buying a lot of inventory, which is yes, the great stuff. It's like it's the balance of power inside the organization. Like marketeers want to push more and finance rest so difficult. How do you manage these team dynamics?
Yeah, so it's a couple of things. So why do we have too much inventory? Well, one reason is because people hate selling out. They think that when they sell out, they've lost money. And to some extent, that's true. But the dangers of over inventorying are more deadly than the dangers of selling out once in a while. And people don't realize that because it's counterintuitive, I think. Oh, I'm out of stock. People can't buy stuff. I'm losing, But the other side is really real killer, right? The other reason is because in the search increasing your AOV, people want to bring on other SKUs. And a lot of the time, we don't run a strict process on product development, or we haven't really figured out what our customers want. And so we bring on SKUs that don't move very quickly, and we bring on too many of them, and we don't cancel them when they don't move. So they just keep buying them in the hopes that because 5% of their sales come from the SKU, so let's keep buying it. Well, no, get rid of it, right? And so I like to say that the path to increasing the AOV is littered with too much inventory and failures and all these things. And then the other part with inventory is they just don't cut SKUs often enough. Reduce sizes, reduce SKUs that don't move, stop selling them because the bottom 20% of your SKUs are destroying value in your company.
Obviously, various SKUs are in a different stage of the life cycle, right? Some are in introduction, still product market fit, some are in growth, some are in maturity level already. So more focus on operational things, try to improve profitability with existing products. And definitely if product is not working and one of the SKUs is not working, just, lose early, right? Just kill it faster than...
So this is the huge, lose early, lose often is huge. Kimberly-Clark, I believe, I used to work with somebody there. They have a method where if a new SKU doesn't hit a target sales velocity in 6 months, they kill it and they don't bring it up again.
Nice. So don't get too emotionally attached to the product, right?
100%.
Great. So assuming there is a product, it's already been proven, there is beginning this growth phase of the product. We know that there is a lot of chaos involved, right? In marketing and operation and inventory. What are some of the financial preparation the founder needs to do to prepare for this growth?
Man, that is such a good question, and not one of them I've been asked before. I love that. So yeah, any business is chaotic. It's hard. It's really hard. But you can cut through the chaos by asking the same questions at regular intervals over and over and over. And that's simple. Stepping back, like the simple things are actually the hardest things often. But, when you're growing a business, the job is to stay alive. If you can stay alive for 5 years, you're probably going to succeed. So just stay alive. Well, how do you stay alive? Well, don't run out of money, and sell more stuff than it costs to, have more revenue than expenses. Oversimplifying, yes. But so what you need to do is review what gives you revenue and review your expenses regularly and ask questions, right? So really this is looking at your P&L. If you look at your profit and loss, if you have Final Loop, you can look at it daily, weekly, maybe it would be better. If you have regular QuickBooks, you're looking at it monthly, but so look at your profit and loss monthly, study it. What happened? Did what happened measure up to what I thought would happen? Why didn't that happen? What does it mean for the next 3 months? And when you look at your P&L, it's an incomplete picture. You have to look at the drivers, the funnel behind revenue. So if I look at my CPMs and CTRs and conversion rates, are those what I thought they would be? If they're not, why? What does it mean? What do I do about it? And if you continue to ask yourself those questions, you will succeed. I mean, as long as your product, people like it, but you'll figure that out very quickly if you look at your funnel very often. Because if people don't like it, they'll land on your website and they'll never convert or something like that, right? So when you look at those two things and you do that, let's say you look at your funnel weekly and you look at your P&L monthly and you do your cash flow planning, like we said, weekly and monthly and all this, it increases your chances of success by a lot. Just look at the stuff. Just ask the question. And it's the problem here is that many times looking at the funnel and the P&L and the cash flows is a very dry meeting, very boring. And 10 times out of 12 in 10 months out of 12 months in a year, the meeting will have nothing interesting happen. But 2 meetings a year, you will notice something that will make you money or save you money, but you don't know which 2 meetings those are going to be. So you have to do all 12 meetings. By way of example, I had a client in England, in the UK, in London, and we had probably 6 meetings. We just went through the financials, boring, no questions, no light bulb moments, nothing. And then the 1 month we met and we said, hey, why marketing expenses down? We were supposed to spend 100,000 quid and we spent 80,000. Wow, why? But revenue is still the same. And we go, I wonder what's going on. And we go, okay, well, let me look at the funnel. Let me look at the drivers. And we go, oh, well, CPMs all of a sudden dropped by a lot, and CTR stays static and CVR stays static. So why are CPMs down? Well, okay. What did we do that month? Well, same creative and same emails. Oh, but I went on a podcast. Oh, really? So podcasts help you. Okay, go get on more podcasts. Boom. I paid for myself for 2 years because their customer acquisition costs dropped by 35% in the course of 3 weeks. But guess who didn't find it? The marketing team didn't see it. I saw it because we looked at the funnel and we asked the same questions. So the P&L, and you do that, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Matt, what sort of like financial crises that you see out there?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Right now, since 2022, it's been really tough out there. I would say, what I consider to be probably a big crisis is up until 2022, most of us, lived in a world where we became professionals and business owners after the Great Recession in 2008. So the same is true for me. Not all of us, but a lot of us. And so we never had really hard times. And banks and lending were always there. So whenever we needed money, we could find a lender. Whenever we needed money or a bank, we could always find some bank. Even if they charge us more money, we could always find debt or money or something. Raising investment was very easy from 2009 to 2022. So most professionals, and myself included, were not in senior positions in a time where things were hard. So we got used to, should I need funds? Okay, I'm going to go get money from a lender, or I'm going to go raise money from an investor. And in 2022, that all changed. And banks don't lend as much as they used to. They're so strict about what they want. By way of example, I have a client that they're doing $100 million a year, and they lost money 2 years in a row, and they made money last year working with us. And in 2020, you could go and get, if you're a $100 million company, you could go get $20 million of debt. No problem if you make money. But now banks want 2 or 3 years of profit before they'll come back and give you money. So this is the big crisis. And it's in some ways, it's a good thing because it's causing people to do the reviews of their P&L to cut costs. But there are a lot of people that have had businesses fail because of this. It changed in 6 months in 2022. All of a sudden you can't get money anymore. And it's still like that. It's very hard to get money right now still.
So it's like encourages a business owner just to be more efficient, focusing on all the nitty-gritty operational parameter, make sure you're profitable, less vision and breakthroughs, more operational excellence, right?
Then exactly, operational excellence that's totally the word. You have to know not just what your revenue and profit and everything is. You have to know what drives it, and knowing that you can't find money anywhere means you have to look at all this stuff. And there are some people that are doing a very good job. For example, this other big company I work with, they ended up reducing their overhead by 15% with no change in operations, right? And it's just operational excellence.
Yes. And obviously AI helps a lot, right? That's a good.
Right. Well, so this, I didn't include, that's a huge change. I wouldn't call it a crisis, but there are companies that are running with, 3 people, 4 people, and a handful of contractors because they're doing a lot of things with AI now. There's a gentleman that I met a month ago. He grew his company from 0 to 15 million in about 2 years, but he's generating, 100 or 200 creatives a month with AI. So he's creative velocity. It's allowing him to beat Facebook CPM problems.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt, when is the best time that founders out there will bring you in as a fractional CFO?
A great question. We work very well with people who have a big goal and people who have a big problem. Everything's fine. People don't want to pay us, and that's fine, right? They shouldn't. So when do you call? You call when you're having a hard time. Well, two reasons. You're having a hard time keeping track of everything on your own. Revenue's this, drivers are this, funnels this, cash is here. I got to pay this invoice. When that gets very difficult, call, right? Or when you don't want to do it, call, right? Those are the two times, and typically we find that 2 million and up is people get sick of doing this, or they can't keep track of it anymore. Or if they're below that, but they're funded, maybe venture back, typically we find that, the CDO is better off focusing on growing the business rather than managing the finances. So I would say, generally speaking, either when you don't want to manage finances anymore, or when you can't, and if you, the other one is where you think, are you growing really fast and you're worried about something, or you can't see around the corner, or you don't know what will happen, or you don't know how to manage your growing company. That's another good time to call us as well.
Okay. So it's kind of done for you services or done with you?
Yeah, we are completely done for you. Meaning, I'm not going to tell you, hey, you should do this with your cash flow. No, I'm going to do it all for you, and I'm going to tell you what we see. And I need you because, let's say, Eitan, you're going to say, hey, what's my cash look like in 3 months? I go, great. Let's sit down for half an hour. What do you think your revenue is going to look like? How many guests are you going to have? How many sponsors? Blah blah blah. And we're going to build something for you, and I'm going to take it away. And I have a team of analysts. They'll figure it out. And then next week, you and I will sit down and we'll say, I ran the numbers. Here's the 3 scenarios, A, B, C. Here's what I think makes sense for you. Completely there.
Got it. So Matt, what's the best way for listeners to reach out to you and to Eightx?
Yeah, well, my website is eightx.co, EIGHTX.co. I'm also on LinkedIn, Matt Putra. You could email me as well, matt@eightx.co. Anything in there could work.
Great. Any final wisdom? Anything else you want to add?
Okay. So yes, there is not a lot of arbitrage opportunities left in D2C, meaning you can't buy cheap ads anymore. Not really, right? In 2013, just anybody that advertised would grow. That's not that way anymore. So what are those things that are getting rep attention than others? One is, I would say, the creative velocity. There are still people with 30 ads in their account. That can't happen anymore. You need to have hundreds of ads in your Facebook library to successfully beat the res and CPM problems. 2 is probably social commerce, so TikTok Shop, and getting on those platforms to figure out how they're going to work for you. And the third one is top of funnel marketing. Again, you're looking for things that other people aren't doing or they're paying less attention to, and people hate top of funnel marketing. Why? Because you can't track it. You're throwing money into the universe and you don't know what's happening with it. But I'll tell you, top of funnel marketing works. That example I gave earlier of my client in the UK, they went on a podcast, and who knows what the listenership looked like, but all of a sudden their CAC dropped just because they went on a well-known podcast. Top of funnel works. Just start with 2% of your budget, throw it into top of funnel, follow Preston Rutherford on LinkedIn, do everything he says. It works. It's not trackable, but I guarantee that it works.
Great. Chris was a great summary. I totally agree. I mean, top of funnel, like providing value, not just pushing products and features, and definitely social commerce. This is also what we believe here in Vimeo. It's TikTok Shop, and also, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, just be there where your audience spend time, right? Your specific demographics could be average. That's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's you're spending 30%, 40% of your revenues with Facebook ads or with ads, right? So, and Amazon also. So, yeah, you can do a rev share with an affiliate on TikTok. It's actually,
yes, exactly.
There's exposure to new markets, and that's a very smart way to do, but timing for everything, right? I mean, if you're still focused on just one marketing effort, then try to perfect it and then move on to the next one. I really appreciate the time, Matt. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best and good luck.
Thank you, Eitan. This was awesome.
Thank you for listening to the end of this episode. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our future content. And if you could share this with just one person, it would make all the difference. Are you looking to accelerate your sales with the power of shoppable video? Explore Vimy, the video commerce platform that includes live shopping, shoppable video, and social commerce capabilities. Visit Vimy at www.vimy.net, that's VIMMI.net, where you can start with a free-for-life package. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more valuable insight in our next episode.